Hey everybody, Steve Joy here. In this video I just want to cover something about player imagination and as a DM or a GM using artwork to stimulate player imagination to make sure everybody's on the same page, they're all sort of visualizing the same thing. See, because if I say you come over the hill and you see a medieval town, everybody at the table is going to see something different in their head, and they're all going to visualize something almost instantly. Everybody does. They're going to have an idea of what it looks like, but it's really handy to be able to get everybody to sort of see the same thing. So this video is about how to get all your players on board with the similar images, seeing the similar things in their minds, giving your campaign or your adventure sort of a solid feel, a uniform feel to it. So the artwork I used, I know this is going to be controversial, I used AI to generate this art. Now, I am an artist. I love AI. I think it's great. I'll show you why in a minute. I have a lot of fun with it. But I am an artist. I do like to draw. I make dungeons. I make game stuff, as I'm sure a lot of you know. But the thing is AI, to me, is a tool like Photoshop. So I know a lot of people have some issues with copyright and stuff like that, and I think that that's warranted. Copying other people's art is not cool. And I do think that there's a problem there. So, but, you know, I've been to art school. I understand some things about art. And so what I've done is I've only used one single dead artist that has been dead for quite a while. And that's Constable. He was an impressionist. Beautiful paintings. I'm a huge fan of Constable. He was an English painter. And so I only use him. He's gone. There's no copyrights on his work, and I don't think he'll object to me using his style with AI. So that's what I've done. That's how I did this. And I think using living artists, yeah, I do think that that's problematic. I really do. If you're just going to use the art raw. But anyway, the reason I used AI is because I know not everybody's an artist, not everybody draws, but if you run a D&D game, having art is really wonderful to be able to show your players. And so this is a really easy way to get copyright-free art. Use a dead artist like Constable. You could use Turner. You could use all kinds. Like there's a plethora of artists, and AI seems to be really good at simulating dead artists as well. So you don't need to go and look for living artists. You can look for older artists that are gone, and you can use them. And so what you do, I use Stable Diffusion. I have it installed on my computer. So I use Stable Diffusion. And so I just put in my prompts, and I put by Constable. And it's good enough. And I get these absolutely beautiful paintings that are based on his artwork, but like I say, he's long gone. There's no copyrights on it anymore, and I don't think I'm hurting his feelings. If anything, he's probably really excited that somebody so far in the future loves his art so much that they're using it this way. I know as an artist, I would be ecstatic if somebody, put in art by Stephen Joy in their thing, 100 years after my death. It'd be amazing. So that's what I did here. So, without any further ado, I'm going to start. I'm just going to show you basically what I think is a great way to do an adventure using AI. Now, this AI can be a little bit tricky to use. You have to get used to the prompts. You'll need to read up on it a little bit. There's lots of free AI art generators out there. I use Stable Diffusion. I just downloaded it, installed it on my computer. I find it's absolutely wonderful. I love it. But there's all kinds of them. You can find lots of them online, and they'll generate art for you. Some of them you have to pay for. Some are free. Some are finicky. Some are less so. It's just a question of finding one that you like, that you can work with. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to start my adventure, and I'm going to say my players that they're wandering down a road, and they come across a small town, and they see a small town. And this is the image I've got for a small town, which I think it's a beautiful image. Does it look like it fits into a modern game? I'm not so sure. I mean, lots of modern games use old art from old books, from dead artists. Nobody seems to object to that. This is an old dead artist, Constable, like I say. So, I don't know what... I never thought of a name for this, but I just put in Medieval Town by Constable, and I ran it a few times, and I just picked the best image. So... So they break through, they're coming along a road, and they're approaching what looks like a large town. And this is what it looks like. There's no paved roads. The roads are dirt, and you can see the small houses. There's a church or a temple in the background. Now, I would mention to them that they can also see a castle up on a hill in the further distance. But instantly, my players have a good idea of what this town looks like. Right? And everybody's got sort of a uniform image in their mind. And I don't know what to call this town. Let's call it Marytown. How about that? There's a lame name. All right, Marytown, because it's happy, right? Constable does happy, bright colors. Love his clouds. So let's call it Marytown. I know it's lame. But anyway, I printed these out. You don't have to print them out. Stable Diffusion will do really good just images for you. And you can use that one, that is with Discord. That's a good one too. And if you want to try it out, you can do a free trial of it. And then if you really like it, you can pay for it. So, like I say, it took me about an hour to generate these images, but I've had a bit of practice with it. So, anyway, so here they are. They're at Marytown. They see it. So they can ask me some questions. What's this? What's that? But I've decided, no, I'm going to give them a map of the town. So here's a map of the town. Now, if you can see, the AI doesn't really do that great a job. I mean, it sort of shows the buildings, but it doesn't like if it was a proper game cartographer, the buildings and stuff would probably be a lot more distinct. However, there's lots of games that use art that's even harder to read than this. Lots of games do it. And so with a little bit of ingenuity and imagination, you can use this map. And then you can easily take this map and you can say, okay, I want a location in here. I'm going to use this as location 1. So just with a marker, I'm just going to write it on there. There's location 1. What's location 1? It's a tavern. So when the players get in here, they start wandering around. They realize there's no roads or anything. There's just paths everywhere, which is very realistic for a medieval town. I like that. So they're just wandering through, and they run across somebody, and they ask where's a good place to sleep for the night or hang out or meet people, and they tell them, oh, well, that would be the Blind Dragon, right? So number 1, I'm going to put number 1, Blind Dragon. I'm just making this step up as I go along here. Anyway, so the Blind Dragon, right? So number 1, make that the Blind Dragon. So what does the Blind Dragon look like? Well, you guys wander past a whole bunch of houses and small buildings. You see some shops and whatever sprinkled in between them. It doesn't seem to be a real downtown area, nothing like that. But you do see some Cartwrights and blacksmith and that kind of thing until you come to a rather large building. And you see that it's a tavern. You can hear music coming from it. You can smell food. You can hear happy noises. You see some people wandering around on the outside. Right? And you see a sign on it that says it's the Blind Dragon, which, by the way, you would never see in the Middle Ages. You would instead see a picture with a mug or something on it. But anyway, so this is the Blind Dragon Tavern. Now all of a sudden the players really have a good idea of what they're dealing with this town, what they might expect, right? So they decide, okay, well, we'll go in to the Blind Dragon. And what do we see inside the Blind Dragon? Well, you see a really crowded scene full of townspeople. There's a second layer and there's tables up there, and you see people eating up there. It's a very smoky environment. There's a lot of cooking going on somewhere. You see a large woman that seems to be in charge of it, and you see people talking. So again, this was it's just the inside of a tavern by Constable. So nobody's art's being stolen, nobody's name's being ruined, nobody's being hurt at all by this, and it looks great. It really looks good. You can see why I'm a fan of AI art. And I'm a fan of using art in a game, because you show people this, and suddenly they really have an idea. They're not thinking about the bar downtown now. They're not thinking. You've taken them right out of the modern world and you've put them right into sort of a fantasy world, you know? And they get a really good idea. Now, for myself, I would say I would give this lady a name. Maybe her name is Maven, right? And I would just draw a line up to her and say that's Maven. Now, the reason I can do this is because I can print this out again if I need it, right? And in fact, I can even cut out the image, and then if I want to put it on make an NPC character out of her, I can. I've got different names here. Maybe this guy is Stu, right? And he's of some importance, right? Anyway, you get the idea. And then all of a sudden the players can have some pictures of what the people look like. Now, you're thinking, oh, but I need a plan. Well, that's fine. So this is probably one of the hardest things to get the AI to do, is to actually create a plan. So I'm going to have the entrance here. The players came in here. There's a little bit of an area. Maybe you can put, you can leave some stuff here or whatever. And then this is the main room here. That's the main room where they are. And then there's different things. I could figure it out what it is. Maybe this is a stable, right? Out back. Different rooms. We need a door here, so I'll just add a door. See, the AI is not going to be great, so, not perfect. But as long as you don't need it to be perfect, as long as you can work with it, and you can use your imagination, it just works great. I love it. So here we'll have some stairs going to the upstairs, because there was an upstairs part. The upstairs part is here that they were seeing. All right. And then they were slightly under the up part. Say they were here. Okay, so we've got kitchens, we've got rooms, we've got a stable, everything. We've got all laid out what we need. Maybe these are some rooms that you can rent. And there we go. I mean, it is absolutely good enough, and it's better than actually a lot of adventures provide, right? So this is so my prompt here was floor plan of tavern by Constable. So not using anybody's art, not stealing anything. Constable's long since dead. He's a fantastic artist. Okay, so the players are in here, and they meet Stu, and Stu happens to work at the castle in some capacity. I don't know. So you say, hey, yeah, Stu works at and you can give all these guys names, and then people have an idea of who they're actually dealing with. It's really wonderful. So Stu, say he's a warden at the castle, and he meets the players. He says, oh, the king really needs a group of adventurers like you. He's got a problem. He needs them to go and clear out some ruins that have been taken over by monsters, and the monsters are hurting a caravan. Again, I'm just making this up on the fly, okay? So the party says, yeah, we're going to go with Stu, and we're going to go meet the king. And Stu, hold on, Stu says, you're not going to meet the king, but you are going to meet somebody official that can hire you to do this, right? Okay, so the party... You tell them, well, you're approaching a castle. And you can show them a picture of the castle. And it looms over the town. It's up on a bit of a hill, and the town is down below it. And if you want, you can say, all right, the castle's here. This is the castle, right? And it's up on a little bit of a hill, and that looks down over the town. There you go. And the players, suddenly they all have a really good idea of what the castle is. It's actually pretty huge. It's a very big castle. So this guy's pretty impressive. No wonder they're not going to actually get to meet with the king. But if you look at the map, it's actually, in medieval terms, it's actually quite a big town. So that's something Stable Diffusion. I have a hard time getting it to make small maps. It always makes everything huge. So there's a thing. But you know, with a little bit of Photoshop chops and whatever, you can fix that. So the players, they go into the castle, and now you can just use your imagination, describe what they see and stuff. But if you need castle plans, here's some castle plans. And you can just... Now, again, the door is not laid out perfectly, and it's a little bit higgly-piggly all over the place. But again, there are lots of games that use maps like these, and it just relies on your imagination. So this is to stimulate your imagination. You can add doors, you can add stables, you can make up stuff for it. It's not a problem. Again, this is a castle floor plan by Constable. Right? So that's very important, floor plan. That's a really great keyword if you're using Stable Diffusion. I don't know about the other ones. I don't really use them. But this is going to be a location that the players probably come back to over and over again, so why not? You know, print it out, and now I've got it. I can put it in my binder or keep a note of it or use it on my tablet and write on top of it if I have the right software. So the players, they get hired. They're supposed to go... There's a pass, a really dangerous pass. It's got a dragon or it's got goblins. It's guarded by that. So they have to get past that. And then beyond that are some ruins that they need to explore. And there's some kind of an item there that the king wants them to retrieve. So the players agree, and for some kind of reward. So you tell the players, okay, well, you're going to set off in the mountains. So here we are. Right? This is what the mountains look like, and you guys spend about 3 days. You've got a guide with you that it was provided by the king, and the guide is going to lead you to the pass where they're having trouble with the goblins, and they need you to wipe them out. So then you come to the pass, and you're approaching the pass, and this is it. Now what happens? The caravans that go through, they have to go through, and they have to go up this difficult pass and through there. And there's goblins inside these caves, and they often go up on the ridges, and they shoot down. So this is an adventure right here. I didn't do a map of the area or anything like that. I could have. I just didn't. But it's pretty easy. You can see from this, you could draw a map yourself, you know, pretty easily of what it looks like. Do some cave structures, whatever. Add a bunch of goblins, you got a really wonderful adventure. Plus now the players know, hey, look, you know, there's this neat place where you go through. So they have their adventure, they try and battle this and whatever. And then the guide continues leading them on and says, okay, now we've gotten rid of the goblins, thank you so much, that's awesome, now let's go to the ruins. So you go for a couple more days and you discover some ruins. Again, nobody's being hurt by this art. This is by Constable, right? I put some ruins on a hill by Constable. That's it. And this is what it gave me. So nobody's being hurt. It's got wonderful Constable clouds in it, Constable mountains. Love his painting style. I didn't put oil painting in or anything like that. Didn't really need to. Stable Diffusion seemed to just know who Constable was, which is great. In fact, Stable Diffusion seems to know who all the old masters are. So this is the ruins. Okay, now the players can say, well, we're going to go up here, we're going to check there, we're going to check there. I've already determined that the adventure is going to be up here, so they're not really going to find anything. They might run into a few monsters, maybe a brick will fall on one of their heads if they, you know, try and shake a door too hard, that kind of thing. But up here is where they're going to run into the difficulties. So again, I created a dungeon, right? Just using the keyword floor plan. And by Constable, and it gave me this, which is really kind of neat. So I've determined what the entrance is going to be here. I'd have to go through and I'd have to label things, you know. This is the entrance, and I would just number everything. These are the, you know, what happens in this room, this room. I would determine where the doors are, and I would do all this before the game, lay out the monsters and everything, and I've got a really great dungeon. So I got all this artwork in an hour. And it would be really awesome for a game. We'd have a blast. And plus, these locations now, you know, when I pull this out, oh yeah, I know where we are, right? The players you can print out their own map for it, and they've got their own map of the town. They've been to these ruins before. They could revisit them. You could revisit this pass. Maybe later on somebody else has taken over this pass. And they could come back and they have to fight it. They have an idea of what the mountains in the world look like. So now they don't see New Zealand every time you mention mountains, which any fans of Lord of the Rings probably just picture New Zealand every time. Well, this doesn't look like New Zealand. Look at the mountains are all really craggy. It looks very different. I love it. It's wonderful. Again, they can come visit the castle, and you can start laying out, all right, this is, you know, the stables, here's the throne room, you know, whatever. The thing is you just gotta let it flow. You can't rely on massive details. And you're gonna have, if you have a player that's gonna study the map and say, oh, I go down, and what's this, and whatever, that's kind of a problem. You know, just remind them this is a general, to give you a general feel, or you can just make it up as you go. It doesn't really matter. As long as you get used to it, it'll work for you really well. You know, and the players will recognize these locations. Oh, I know that castle. You can pull it out way later. You know, and you've got actual characters now, NPCs, that you met them in the tavern, and you've got them laid out. You can make some notes for yourself. Anyway, so that's my suggestion for stimulating the imaginations of your players and creating art for your adventures. Yeah, there's Marytown. What a lousy name. The tavern. I like the Blind Dragon, though. I think the players would want to go back to the Blind Dragon again and again. And again, if I need, I can generate, you know, additional peasants and stuff, because you keep track of the words that you use to generate the art, just to make sure that you can have a consistent feel to it. This is, if you notice, this all feels consistent. It's because I used by constable every time, and so I get this wonderful feeling of stuff. And I didn't even use that many keywords. As you play with it, you can add more keywords. Dark and stormy night, right? That kind of thing, and you can get just more feeling with it. Anyway, in an hour, and Stable Diffusion is totally free. If you look online, you can find tutorials on how to install it on your computer. But there's other free AIs out there that you can use. There's some that you can pay for, and there you go. It creates wonderful art. Just use a dead artist, an artist that's 100 years old. The AI can handle it. You know, you don't need to use modern living artists. Let them earn their living doing their art the way they do their art, and you can use this. I mean, yeah, I don't know who could object to that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please leave a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.